So we're going to start by talking about validating DEA numbers. So the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, which is known as the DEA, assigns a unique number to each prescriber, pharmacy, and manufacturer in order to track controlled substances. Having a DEA number grants a prescriber the ability to prescribe controlled substances. The Drug Enforcement Administration, this number is an entity of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, a branch of the U.S. Department of Justice. So they have a legal responsibility and enforceability. The number, the DEA number, lets us see who's authorized to prescribe, preparation, storage, and dispensing of controlled substance. The DEA number grants one the ability to legally work with controlled substances. When you receive a prescription for a controlled substance in the pharmacy, it must contain a valid DEA number. Please note that if it is not a controlled substance, it does not have to have a DEA number on it. This tutorial will take you through how to validate a DEA number. So the DEA number consists of 2 letters and 7 numbers. The first letter will indicate the level of practice and the responsibility of the prescriber. So in this illustration, we're seeing A. Physicians, dentists, podiatrists, veterinarians, pharmacies, and hospitals will have DEA numbers that begin with an A, a B, or an F. A mid-level practitioner, such as a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, or an optometrist, will be assigned a DEA number starting with the letter M. And I always think of that as M for mid-level. Mid-level prescribers can prescribe a more limited set of drugs depending on their scope of practice. In some states, they can prescribe controlled substances, but very, very limited to what the scope of practice is. Other DEA number prefixes exist for manufacturers. That would be an E. For an importer, that would be a J. And for exporters, that would be a K. The second letter of the DEA number represents one of 2 things. If it's assigned to a business, the second letter would be the first letter of the name of the business or the company that owns the business. If the number is assigned to an individual, the second letter will be the first letter of the last name of the individual. Now, there's a set of 7 numbers that follow those 2 letters. The first 6 digits are used as part of what we call a checksum equation that we use to verify the validity of the DEA number. The 7th digit is the validation number, and we use that for the checksum equation. So, how does this work? To validate a DEA number, we're going to follow a checksum equation. So to do this, we need the first, third, and 5th digits, and we add them together. So 8 plus 1 plus 3 is equal to 12, and we'll need that in just a moment. Then we take the second, 4th, and 6th numbers, 4, 7, and 2, and add them together, and we get 13, and then we multiply it by 2, and we get 26. Now we take these 2 together. We add 12 plus 26, and we get 38. So what we're going to do now is we're going to check, this is the checksum. We're going to validate our DEA number. So our validation number is the last digit of your checksum number. So it's an 8. So we need to make sure that it matches the 8. It does. So the number is correct. Now we're taking on faith that the A, it's a doctor and their last name starts with B. Using the process described, validate the DEA numbers on the worksheet that's provided. If the number is correct, mark it as valid. If the number is incorrect, mark it as invalid and describe the corrections needed to make it a valid number. The DEA numbers allow for pharmacies to house and distribute controlled substances pursuant to prescription orders. So you're going to follow through in your lab book, but you're actually going to do the work in your lab manual binder. I've printed the sheets out for you. So let's look at Dr. Spencer Brown as an example. So, I'm sorry, I said doctor. It's not a doctor. It's Spencer Brown, who's a PA. So a PA is a mid-level practitioner, which should begin with an M, and it does. Then we see the second is a B. Well, their last name starts with a B. So far, so good. So now what we're going to do is a checksum on the numbers. So if we take the first plus the third plus the fifth, we get 14. Then we take the second, the fourth, and the sixth, and we get 18. And we have to multiply that by 2. So that would be 36. All right. The last step is to take your 14 from your first and your 36 from the second, and we get 50. We're not really concerned about the 5. We just want to look at that last number. Does this digit match the last digit? And it does. So let's see if I can erase my screen. So that's what we did. 1, 7, and 6 is 14. 1, 8, and 9 is 18. Times 2 is 36. It gives us 50. The last digit of the DEA number is 0. It matches up with the checksum, 0. We have a valid DEA number. All right, let's try this one together. Lisa Tierney is a dentist. DDS is for dentist. So dentist is going to have an A, a B, or a, all of a sudden I went blank. F. So A, B, or F. So the A is okay. Last name starts with a T. Last name starts with a T. All right. Now we need to checksum our number. So 6 plus 7 plus 2 is 15. And 3 plus 9. Oops, that's a funky looking 9. Try that again. 3 plus 9. Oh, I cannot do a 9. Plus 4 is 16. Times 2 is 32. 15 plus 32 is equal to 47. All right, so I have 7 as my last number. Whoops, that's a 1. So this is invalid. So you would mark invalid, and what would make it correct is if the validation number was a 7. So let's erase this and look at the slide. So we see verification should have been a 7. All right. Pollard's Pharmacy, DEA number, F. Okay, so primary practice site, F. Okay, that's okay. So that one's good. A, B, or F for pharmacy. P because it's Pollard's Pharmacy. All right. Now we're going to check our numbers. So 1 plus 3 plus 5 is equal to 9. And 2 plus 4 plus 6, that's a 2, is equal to 12 times 2. Even numbers multiply by 2. That's 24. So 9 plus 24 is equal to 33. And it ends in 3, and we have a check. So that one is valid. So that's the process as you're going through the prescription, the DEA numbers in your lab. So let's take a quick look back at that. So in your lab manual binder, you're going to go through. So it gives you the example here of Lisa Tierney, which we just did. And now we have Floyd's Pharmacy. So you have to identify, okay, a pharmacy should have, what is its first level? Then its second letter. Okay, now if one of these letters is incorrect, identify. So I'm going to help you with the first one. So Floyd's Pharmacy, F is okay because it's a pharmacy, A, B, F for primary. It should, however, have F as its second letter because it's Floyd's Pharmacy. So the P is incorrect. Now, go ahead and validate the number. I'm not going to take you through that part. You check that part. But that's what you need to look at as you're going through all 10 of these. Okay, let's continue on. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the scheduling of drugs. So a Scheduled 1 drug is not legal in the United States. It cannot be prescribed. So 2s through 5s are the only ones that can be prescribed. Schedule 2 drugs cannot have refills. So that's one of the special things about a Schedule 2. So here are some examples: morphine, oxycodone, Demerol, which is meperidine, hydromorphone, fentanyl, methylphenidate, dextroamphetamine, hydrocodone with acetaminophen. Your Schedule 3s, codeine with aspirin, Tylenol number 3, your anabolic steroids. C4s, benzodiazepines, mepropamate, phenobarbital, carasprotol, which is soma. There's a few others that fall into that category. And then your C5s, that will depend on your state as to if it requires a prescription or not, if it needs, if it has a limitation of 5 refills. In most states, according to federal law, C5s have the same prescribing as a regular Legend drug. C3s and C4s, they must, the prescription is only valid for 6 months, and they have a maximum of 5 refills. C2s, there's no refills. In the case of an invalid DEA number, we would alert the pharmacist before we went on. Most likely it's a forged prescription, and then contacting law enforcement might be indicated, but that should be handled by the store manager or the pharmacy manager, not the technician. After consulting the pharmacist on duty, or the pharmacy manager or the store manager, be sure to comply with the company policies on the detection of forged prescriptions. All right, so the first step of the DEA number verification process is adding that would be B, first, third, and fifth numbers. Using the DEA number verification formula, calculate the digit of this DEA number. Give you a minute to do that. That number should be 3. Okay, so in summary, the Drug Enforcement Administration number, DEA number, is a unique identifier assigned by the United States Drug Enforcement Administration. This number allows for tracking the authorized prescribing, preparation, storage, and dispensing of controlled substances. The DEA number grants 1, the ability to legally work with controlled substances, and the validity of the DEA number can be verified using the digits in a checksum equation. In the case of an invalid DEA number, alert the pharmacist and seek guidance on how to proceed. So for your pre-lab is to complete that DEA number worksheet.